Game of Thrones, what makes a good king? In season 4, Tywin Lannister asks Tommen that question while Joffrey was dead right next to them. It was actually a way of Tywin to try and teach Tommen a lesson that defies the very heart of the series, which what makes a good king. Okay, that's not true. Tywin was actually trying to manipulate Tommen into his puppet of a king, but still I believe he was trying to teach him nonetheless. In any case, this was a moment just after Joffrey's death, and the realm was vulnerable, and the crown was unstable, and in Tywin's words we discover not just how kings rise but also how they fall. He flat out said that Joffrey was not a good king, but Tywin Lannister is a very, very smart person. We can all agree on that, but you don't have to be a genius to figure this out. However, Tywin, ever the teacher, was starting it as a test. He was asking him, what makes a good king? However, let me tell you something, this video is not exactly to talk about the conversation that happened between Tywin and Tommen above Joffrey's body. It's simply me trying to analyze what really makes a good king in a brutal world like Game of Thrones. So firstly, it is something that Tommen did say to Tywin Lannister, and I believe is extremely important, is strength. And Robert Baratheon was the best example of strength. I mean, yes, when he became old, he turned into a fat, ugly, and stupid, but when he was young, he won his crown through war. Daenerys also is an example of strength. She bent cities into her will with dragons. So yeah, strength is very important because in Westeros, mercy without power is seen as weakness. But strength can also destroy you. Robert grew soft, as I mentioned earlier. Daenerys became feared more than loved, and we all know what she did in the very last season. So strength is essential, but never enough on its own. Next point I want to make is legitimacy. And that's where Stannis Baratheon comes in. He had the strongest claim by law. But still, legitimacy is not enough. You need to be loved by your own people, and not many people loved Stannis, mainly because of the Red Woman he was following. People did not really approve of that much. He still had followers. Most of them were from Renly Baratheon's followers, and it became worse after the stupid shit he did to his daughter as some sort of a sacrifice. So yeah, legitimacy on its own is not enough. Yes, Stannis was the legit king by law, but everyone hated him. No one wanted him for king. Varys himself did not approve of him, and considering how caring Varys is towards the good of the realm, that says a lot. Another thing that makes a good king, in my opinion, is loyalty. Jon Snow did inspire loyalty to the North and to everyone who believed in him despite not wanting the crown. Many people did lose their trust on Jon Snow when he bent the knee to Daenerys, but still many people kept believing in him. So yeah, Jon Snow was a good symbol of loyalty and also legitimacy, because if we talk about the Targaryen lines and the fact that the Targaryens were the kings at some point, he was the true heir to the Iron Throne when it comes to the heritage of the Targaryens. Even though the Targaryens, the crown was taken from them, but still he was very legit. Who had a stronger legitimacy to the crown and the throne, Stannis or Jon Snow? That's debatable. Each has his own opinion. I think it's Stannis because I think the Baratheons did earn the crown and the throne by force when they took it from the Targaryens, but still the Targaryens were the original crown holders, so yeah, it's debatable. Now, another good feature that makes a good king, and that feature was actually pointed out in the conversation between Tywin Lannister and Tommen, which is justice. And who could ever possibly be a better example of justice than Ned Stark? His honor earned him huge respect among the Northerners, but in King's Landing, it cost him his head. The complete opposite of justice is obviously Joffrey Baratheon. He was cruel and vicious and was manipulating everything into his own favor. Tywin Lannister also was not just at all. He did not care about justice, he cared about keeping the nobles in line. So among all the kings in the world of Game of Thrones and the world of A Song of Ice and Fire, which one do you think would be the best king, considering all the features combined? I personally think it's Jon Snow. He never wanted power, which is usually a good sign in Westeros. He leads by example and he fights alongside his men. He commands respect across cultures, the wildlings, the northerners, and even Daenerys' forces. And he is ruthless when he needs to be. He balances justice with mercy, but he also executes traitors and men who are following him when they cross the line, but he also shows compassion when it matters. However, Jon Snow may be the best king in my opinion when it comes to all the kings in Westeros and the kings in the show, whatever, but he might not be the suitable choice for a world like Westeros. I mentioned him as the best king when it comes to the realm and the good of the realm and whatever, he is a good king, but Tywin Lannister might be the most suitable king for a world like Westeros. Because Westeros does not need a good king or a just king, it needs a cunning, ruthless king who understands power and knows how to manipulate it to his own terms. It needs someone who would keep order and stability through fear and respect. So Jon Snow would be the best king for Westeros, but Tywin Lannister is the pragmatic king of Westeros. Or let me say it in the Dark Knight style, Jon Snow is the king Westeros needs, Tywin Lannister is the king Westeros deserves.